To understand the limbic arc, here's what you need to know. Information is what is conveyed by a particular arrangement of things. Here are some things, some shapes. In this arrangement, they don't convey much. There isn't much information here, so let's rearrange them. This particular arrangement of things conveys more information. It's obviously a woman, and here she is. This is Phoebe. Let's pretend that Phoebe is new to our planet and I hand her something she's never seen before. Without more information, what will Phoebe do with this apple? Probably nothing. I can convey the needed information to her by altering our shapes. This arrangement of things conveys to Phoebe the information she needs to know what to do with the apple. Before Phoebe had this information, did the apple have any value? Yes, it did, but not to Phoebe. She needed additional information to receive the value of the apple. What happens to the apple after Phoebe eats it? She digests it, which means it gets broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, and those tiny pieces get distributed throughout her body to fuel her individual cells. By the way, Phoebe has somewhere between 50 and 100 trillion cells, and they all need fuel. Each of those tiny pieces of the apple is an arrangement of things, atoms and molecules. So each carries with it information. When a tiny piece arrives at a cell, the information it carries is communicated to the cell, and the cell knows what to do with it. Phoebe needed conscious information before she knew to eat the apple. At a cellular level, a subconscious level, Phoebe's cells need information to know what to do with the tiny pieces. Phoebe's conscious brain, the part of her brain that does her thinking, is called her frontal lobe, and it's located in this part of her head. Consciously, Phoebe processes about 2,000 pieces of information every second. That's fast. Phoebe is very smart. In this part of Phoebe's brain is located a system called the reticular activation system. One of its functions is to focus Phoebe's attention on what needs her attention. Think of it as her personal secretary that screens all of her incoming calls. Phoebe needs a secretary because her body, at a subconscious level, processes over 400 million pieces of information every second. At a subconscious level, Phoebe is super smart. She processes over 200,000 times more information here than she does here. Most of the time, what happens here isn't important. She doesn't need to get consciously involved, but sometimes she does. And when conscious attention is needed, her secretary, her reticular activation system, lets the call through. When our subconscious self communicates to our conscious self, it comes in the form of feelings. Here's an example. Let's assume the apple Phoebe just took a bite of was poisoned by her wicked stepmother who wanted her to go to sleep for a long time. Sound familiar? After she eats the apple, how will her subconscious self communicate to her conscious mind that something's wrong? It will come in the form of feelings. Phoebe may feel a little queasy or hot or nauseous. She'll feel that something isn't right. With experience, we learn to recognize different feelings and what they mean. You may know what it feels like when you start to get sick or when you start getting better. There are many different feelings generated by different subconscious arrangements of things that convey different information. There are lots of ways that information is conveyed. At a conscious level, we use our 5 senses to extract the information from the arrangements of things. Phoebe is an arrangement of things. When she speaks,
hello, Dr. Cook. Hello, everyone.
She arranges sound waves, and we sense those waves and extract the information. And we know it's Phoebe. When we see Phoebe, either in person or on video, our eyes sense the arrangement of light and extract that information. We know it's Phoebe. We can be informed that this is Phoebe in many ways. We may recognize her step and know Phoebe is approaching. And when she's close, we can recognize her by touch or possibly by smell. Phoebe can be consciously experienced and recognized in many ways because she's a complex arrangement of many things. This line represents the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light, the portion of this line that we perceive, is very small. If we stretch this line across the continental United States from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., visible light, the portion that we see, would be represented by a line about 2 feet wide somewhere near Oberlin, Kansas. If we could see Phoebe more completely, we would see that she exists across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. She's a complex arrangement of things. Let's look at Phoebe through an infrared lens. Here we can see that there's more to Phoebe than meets the eye, but the part of Phoebe that we usually see is that small section of visible light. There is information at every point on this line, but what we consciously perceive is hardly anything. We're mostly blind to the information around us. Or are we? Phoebe's body consists of many systems working together: her digestive system, her circulatory system, her nervous system, and her energy system, to name a few. Her energy system includes acupuncture meridians and acupuncture points. Acupuncture points are located at different places on her body, and one of their functions is to connect her inside to her outside environment. You might think of them as little dish antennas that receive and transmit information. The data that's transmitted through Phoebe's energy system isn't something she's consciously aware of, at least most of the time. But just like the information carried by those tiny pieces of apple, this energetic information is used to keep Phoebe balanced and healthy and happy. When we consider Phoebe beyond just what we see, we realize there's a lot more. We call this larger package Phoebe's field. A field is a sphere of influence. Phoebe has a sphere of influence, and it's not just available to those of us in close proximity. It extends in a boundless way across space and time. Phoebe can send and receive information to everywhere and everywhen. That may sound nebulous, but it's important to understand because Phoebe isn't the only person or the only thing with a field. Everything has a field, and every field extends to everywhere and everywhen. This means that all fields bump into each other. Phoebe's field bumps into mine, and yours, and everybody else. It also bumps into the field, the sphere of influence of the United States, and China, and Mexico, and the field of algebra and geometry. Everything has a field, and all fields bump into and communicate with each other. The place where this happens is called the zero-point field, which introduces a lot of fun concepts we could explore, but we'll save those for another time. The Limbic Arc has two pieces. The first is a library of information fields stored on the internet cloud, and the second is an app that you load onto your phone. You might think of the app as your library card. It gives you access to and control of the online library. The fields in the library are an arrangement of things that convey information that is relevant to the things they represent. Currently, we're focused on natural substances like vitamins and minerals and other nutritional things, items that have known benefits. In addition to the individual items on the library, we have created collections of items based on common benefit. An example is a collection called Sleep. If sleep is a benefit you're interested in, you can select that collection and it will activate items with a known sleep benefit. Items that are activated are individualized in a way that directs them specifically to your field, with the expectation that you will subconsciously use this information to achieve the desired benefit. For example, sleep. We call this process an info boost. Remember when I handed Phoebe the apple? It had no value to her until she knew what to do with it. The Limbic Arc experience is designed to provide information in a similar but subconscious way. The info boost is designed to inform you, to give you an arrangement of things, a conveyance of information that will be used to your benefit. When Phoebe saw the information telling her what to do with the apple, I knew she understood because she took a bite. That's easy feedback to recognize because we were communicating at a conscious level. The info boost is subconscious, And even though that's the part of you that is super smart, at a subconscious level, it's more difficult to recognize effectiveness because the feedback is generally not so obvious. Remember that the subconscious communicates with feelings, so pay attention to how you feel. The other thing to pay attention to is the desired benefit. An info boost will last 8 days unless you modify that timeline. Over the course of those 8 days, do you experience any improvement relating to your info boost? For example, are you sleeping better? I have a lot of experience with body energy. Over the years, I have observed that patients who receive acupuncture will not always immediately notice a difference. But within a few treatments, almost everyone becomes attuned to their bodies and their energy system, and they begin to feel subtle energetic changes. Information is what is conveyed by a particular arrangement of things, and information is critical to health and well-being. Each Limbic Arc Info Boost is designed to help you enjoy a more balanced and complete life, but the Limbic Arc does not diagnose or treat medical conditions.